have a small elite that pushes things in its own interests, even if it doesn't benefit the vast majority of the population. This has happened so many times previously in history, and it's probably going to happen again. One of the biggest dangers to the planet today is this technological utopia, because probably for the elite it will work. If bad comes to worst, and when the flood comes, the scientists will build a Noah's Ark for the elite, leaving the rest to drown, the rest of the people and then the rest of the ecosystem. But they are likely to be able to construct this technological Noah's Ark, which is probably what much of the elite is counting on. COVID is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance. If we want to stop this epidemic, we need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin. What we have seen so far, it's corporations and governments collecting data about where we go, who we meet, what movies we watch. The next phase is the surveillance going under our skin. We're now seeing mass surveillance systems established even in democratic countries, which previously rejected them. And we also see a change in the nature of surveillance. Previously, surveillance was mainly above the skin. Now it's going under the skin. Governments want to know not just where we go or who we meet. Above all, they want to know what is happening under our skin. What's our body temperature? What's our blood pressure? What is our medical condition? Now humans are developing even bigger powers than ever before. We are really acquiring divine powers of creation and destruction. We are really upgrading humans into gods. We are acquiring, for instance, the power to re-engineer life. I know that in recent years, we saw populist politicians undermining deliberately the trust that people have in important institutions like universities, like respectable media outlets. These populist politicians told people that, say, scientists are this small elite, disconnected from the real people. I mean, all this story about Jesus rising from the dead and being the Son of God, this is fake news. Humans are now hackable animals. You know, the whole idea that humans have, you know, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will.
For though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the power of the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of the Heavenly Father Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Yahushai HaMashiach. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3 to verse 5. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahushai Bahashem, Rachakodash. Double honor to our venerable apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so Brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson. Lord willing, it be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. And this is a lesson I was going to touch on, Lord willing, through the Spirit. It came up, I think, might be almost a week now, if not a week ago. All right, my sister had made a comment. Okay, and she was bringing back a point in a lesson that I had done a while back, probably a couple of years ago now, going into AI, all right, and if is AI in the Bible, right? Now, as we just read in the book of 2 Corinthians, that our weapons of warfare are not carnal, but they're spiritual. Okay, and how do we go about maintaining in this war that we're in is by just bringing out the truth. Okay, looking at the spiritual significance behind things that are happening, because we're spiritual men at the end of the day. And we know that we're in a war that is a spiritual war. We know that Esau Edom on the left-hand side is tapping into all kinds of different realms and entities and all kinds of different things that they're getting into right now. All right, which we're going to expose, all right, Lord willing, and we always do, all right. But, we're at that time where, the more spiritual you become, all right, or at least you zone in, all right, the more you're going to see that these devils are actually exactly as the scriptures describe them. All right, they're cunning, they're deceptive, all right, and now the truth is hitting them so much that they have no choice but to ultimately just come against the men of the Lord. All right, they're setting up an obstacle, all right, to get rid of as many people as possible, okay? And they're going to do that through so-called artificial means, all right? Their so-called artificial intelligence, AI, okay? But, the sister brought it up, and, through the spirit, I want to, touch on it, all right, real quick, all right? So AI, the word AI is actually in the Bible. We're gonna pull that up as well. But before we do so, I want to actually look up the word or abbreviation AI. Okay, and it says AI, abbreviation of artificial intelligence. All right, and previously, earlier in the 20th century, it stood for artificial insemination. Okay, when you let's look up the word insemination real quick, right? See, this is all insemination. It has to do with the seed, right? It says action of sowing, right? So AI, previously, prior to it being known as artificial intelligence, it was previously known as artificial insemination. Okay, so insemination is the action of sowing, right? Noun of action from inseminate, meaning infusion of semen, right? So when you put your rod in a woman and you release, you inseminate, you infuse, right? And in other words, you're planting, all right, your seed, you're sowing the seed, all right, within her. Okay, it says what? To inseminate means what? To cast as seed, right? The sperm of a man is also known as seed. Okay, to what? Another word for sowing is to what? Is to implant. Okay, so when you look at what is going on in modern day today, ultimately, the end of it all, right? When you see all these changes that's happening with the economy tanking and culture and how demoralized society has become, when you look at all these things happening, right, in terms of modern day American life as it is, the reality as we're living in now, right, this is all designed to end up in the fulfilling of the one major or last major prophecy left, okay, which is the mandatory implementation of the RFID micro CHIP. All right, that is the main goal. Everything you're going to see now is leading to that. All right, and that's biblical prophecy. Okay, so Esau has been taking steps little by little through gradualism. All right, right now you got something known as the boiling frog method, which is being used right now as we speak. Okay, people are not awake. They don't see what's going on. All right, so that's clearly working. So they've been gradually, right, gradualism, gradually over the years, been bringing in all kinds of different steps to lead them to this very point that we're at right now. So now we can go back and trace back and say, oh, this goes all the way back to the garden, like we've been saying. All right, the serpent and the woman, okay? And in this case, you have the serpent again. They just came out boasting, right, about who they are, the dragon. You don't know, you have no idea, what dragon you have awakened, or, whatever they said. All right, with all that red background, right? Was it a year ago, or maybe 2 years now? Prince Charles, all right, he unveiled a painting of him all looking red like Satan, and he's the same one that Trump is meeting up, if he hasn't already. We were just talking, talking about he going to invite him over here and shit. He said there should be a warlike, martial-like footing, right? So the government's got to come together to go ahead and push for the so-called New World Order agenda. So that with that comes a lot of deception, a lot of rituals, right? A lot of distortion, okay, of reality. A lot of persecution of the truth. Ultimately, that's what this all boils down to anyway. right? So going back to insemination, right? To inseminate means to implant, right? So AI now is known as artificial intelligence, but previously was known as artificial insemination. So modern day terms, Esau is going to be trying to inseminate, right? He's going to, you know what? That's why those who don't take the Sihib, the elect, that is, they're going to be presented to Yahushua as what? Virgins, because we're not touched, right? But once Esau implants and he inseminates his Sihib within you, right? You're no longer that virgin. Yahushua is going to come and destroy you. Okay? And there's a story in the Old Testament that is, you know, speaking to that, right? In the sense of, if you look at it in the spiritual sense, which we're going to get, all right? But we're going into the word artificial. We're going to break it down little by little, okay? So the word artificial, it says here, not natural or spontaneous, right? That's why Noah Harari, Noah Yuval Noah Harari, all right, because he's nothing but a whore, all right? He's going to be destroyed, a Mo whore, mad crazy, all right? A J Mo whore, unbelievable, all right? The worst of the worst, and that's why you could tell he looks like picture perfect nigga from ancient Sodom and Gomorrah. He got that face. You know he was back then, just a little darker though. You know. So when you go to that word artificial, it says not natural or spontaneous. So going back to what I was saying about Noah I messed it up. Noah Harari or whatever I said, right? He said what? That they're changing the organic to the inorganic, right? So they're making the natural unnatural. And they want to turn the Lord's creation that he looked at and says, it is good. He says, nah, it's not good. We're going to change it. We're going to invert it, right? We're going to turn man into machine, merge him to machine. And, you know, crazy, right? It says here, it says of belonging to art, right? Artificial, right? These what you call it? These robots that they create and all these different technological machines that they're creating, it's all going into art. All right, it's all art. All right, engineering and so on and so forth. That's all high level art. All right, adding this and taking this and designing something and creating it. You know, these robots that they create, and it's all engineering. That's all art. Okay, so it says was a work of art, skill, theory, system. Okay, system. All right, it says here, craftsman, artist, master of an art. Okay, music, acting, sculpting, etc. You see, so the art form goes into acting as well. So a lot of these things that they present to you on the TV, which is all feeding into the artificial intelligence aspect of things, right? To prepare people's minds. You got the MOTB mentality. They gotta orchestrate this. That's why it tells you in Revelation 13 and 16 that he causeth all. Causeth means what? To poeo, to fashion, to construct. So every aspect of society is built to construct people's minds and actions towards that MOTB. So that way they will accept it. This is Esau's last push. If he can fulfill this, to him, that makes him a god. He's officially become what he isn't supposed to be. What he will never be, which is to live an immortal life in wickedness. That's crazy. Artificial immortality, because he knows he can't get the blessing back. So now his best way is to what? Let me create my own way of getting the blessing. That's insane. You see? So now they're trying to worship. They're not trying. They are worshiping the creation of the created and rebelling against the creator. That's what Esau is doing right now. So he's an all the way devil, demon. And that's why he ought to be exposed some more, right? So let's keep going. All right. It says what? It says maker, right? Artificial. Maker. It says what? To do, to make, right? So they're bringing technology. They're taking elements, bringing it together over the years, all right, and bringing it to life. They're turning robots and making them animate now, speak, blink, put skin on them, make them look real. They create veins and all that shit, you know? They have the brains for it. So now they're building the bodies for it. The brains is what you're seeing, the chat GPTs and all these different things, the so-called Internet of Things, the Metas and the AIs, Open AI and Oracle and Palantir, all this data technology stuff that you're seeing around the world, Neuralink and all this shit, right? That's all part of the brain, all right, of this, the making of this artificial world, this artificer's creation. That's the brain part of it, you know. That's the thinking part of it. That's why we are able to interact with it, and it gives us actual answers, you know. So it says here, artificial meaning what? Made by man, contrived by human skill and labor. Okay, so it's made by man, meaning it's fictitious. All right, it's assumed, it's not genuine. All right, it's insincere. Okay, and that all goes through what? Artificial intelligence is what? The science and engineering of making intelligent machines. See? The science and engineering of making intelligent machines. So which leads us to the word intelligence, right? So let's look up the word intelligence. It says the highest faculty of the mind, capacity for comprehending general truths, faculty of understanding, comprehension, right? Intelligence. It says here, understanding, knowledge, power of discerning, art, skill, taste. All right, discerning, appreciative. See here, to understand, to comprehend, to come to know. Let's see. It says to collect, to gather, right? That's why you have the so-called Central Intelligence Agency, right? Remember those words, Central Intelligence Agency. Okay, you know what they stand for, you know what they do, you know what kind of practices they engage in, right? They go to so-called Haiti and practice voodoo and then bring it over here and turn it into something known as MK, you know what? And then they're able to get people to control people's minds, to do all kinds of sadistic shit, invite demons into people's bodies, starve them out, keep them awake for 30 days straight, have their body so messed up, their spirit is so disturbed that it's open for demonic takeover, man, possessions. And then they call this research. This is the devil for you. All right, they take people from, if you're in prison, they do tests, take you into the military labs and shit, and they do all kinds of different tests on jakes, all right, and different people, you know? That's what these devils do, all right? And they do all this to what? To gather information, right? Psalms 64 tells you that they do a diligent search. Everything is all classified, so-called secretive, you know? And when it's brought out and people, there's attention being brought to it, they call it conspiracies. All right. So it says what? It says here, the meaning says superior understanding, sagacity, quality of being intelligent. It says the sense information received or imparted. Okay. Information received or imparted. Being endowed with understanding or intelligence. All right, so then it makes you question, like, where are you getting all this information from? It says secret information from spies, right? So intelligence, right, collecting data and all this extra shit, but also what? It says the sense of information received or imparted, okay? And we know that these devils always work on the left-hand side. So what do you think they're conjuring up that's giving them this kind of so-called superior understanding, right? As the scripture says that thou art wiser than Daniel. Okay. So how do they get that kind of intelligence? Well, we know that they go into something known as demonology. All right. The study of spirits on the left-hand side. All right. So you go into that word demon. All right. Demon. Or actually, you got this guy, I believe he's the CEO of J.P. Morgan. All right, is it Johnny Damon? Something Damon, Matt Damon, some Damon. All right, but his name is Damon, and that word Damon goes to the word demon. All right, that word daemon is just a different variation slash spelling of the word demon. And what does the word demon mean? Let's see. It says an evil spirit, malignant supernatural being. Ooh, right? It says an incubus, a devil. All right. It says from Latin daemon, which is spirit. From Greek daimon, which is deity, divine power, lesser God. Okay, lesser God, guiding spirit. Okay, guiding spirit. Right. It says sometimes including souls of the dead. Right. So going to what's that? There's a word for it. When you're messing with the dead people and stuff. Oh damn, there's a word for it. I forgot. It says here the malignant sense is because the Greek word was used with daimonion in Christian Greek translations and the Vulgate of God of the heathen idol. Ooh, hear that? Idol, heathen idol, right? And also for unclean spirit. Okay. Now, go down a little bit. Right here, it says supernatural agent, or it says the usual ancient Greek sense, supernatural agent or intelligence lower than a god. Okay, ministering spirit. All right, so that's the intelligence part. It leads you to the word demon. All right, now let me prove that. It says here. It's sometimes written daemon or diamond, all right, for purposes of distinction, meaning destructive or hideous person, all right, which says what? Destructive or hideous person. So sometimes it's something called nomen omen. And some of the things that Jamie Dimon has brought out and talked about, of course, he's affiliated with the WEF. He's been invited over there. He's given speeches and all. He's part of all that madness. All right, all those tech gurus who are, thinking to themselves that technology is going to make them immortal and they're going to be gods on this earth and continue to be wicked. He's part of that crew. All right, and that's all at the downfall of everybody else. He's part of that crew. Okay, so his name alone says what? Destructive or hideous person. All right, it says an evil agency personified. Okay, an evil agency personified. Now, remember the word demon going to that says the usual ancient Greek sense, supernatural agent or intelligence lower than a god. Okay? Intelligence lower than a god. All right, so demon, you get the concept of intelligence from that. Something that's on a supernatural, form of sagacity, if you will. Right? Now, a little bit more. It says the demon of Socrates, right? Late 14th century in English, was a daemonion or demonian, right? A divine principle or inward oracle. We know a company called Oracle right now tapping into this left-hand side energy through technology. All right, headed by this guy called Larry Ellison, another demon. All right, let me stop. Continuing, it says, his accusers and later the church fathers, however, represented this otherwise. It says the demon star. Okay, now the demon star will lead you to something known as Algol, right? Back in 1895, the demon star was known as Algol, which is spelled Algol. Okay, now what is Algol? Algol is literally the demon from Arabic Algol, Alghul, right? Which means what? The demon. All right. This is all, again, Algol, right? Which is what? The computer language is a contraction of Algol, which is the first part of the Algol, and then the L stands for something else. So the Algol is algorithmic, okay? And then the L stands for language, algorithmic language. The whole algorithm that we got going on, that goes back to al-Ghul, which is what? The demon, back in Arabic. Okay? The Arabic al-Ghul, meaning the demon, is what we have today. The computer language is a contraction of al-Ghul, which is algorithmic language. That's what al-Ghul stands for. Okay? And when we say, yo, the algorithm is knocking our videos down, they're literally using spirits from the left-hand side to target our videos, man. The truth. Yahweh Bashim Yahshua. You say certain things and it's like, yo, how the hell did they get to my channel? How the hell did they see? They do say, oh, the algorithms. How do they use it? Where did this come from? It goes back to al-Ghul, which means the demon. And demon means what? Intelligence. So they've built an infrastructure to invite these spirits to exhibit these things, man. All right? And that's exactly what the scripture said they'll be doing in these last days. Why? Because they see that they have but a short time. All right? There's a book of Isaiah, chapter 47, and verse 12. It says, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Right? So when you go back to even the time of in the garden, all right, was not a form of enticement, charm, right, deception that the serpent used to get Eve to go off, and then ultimately get the man to go off, which was Adam. All right, so the same thing that they did back there, they're doing the same exact thing now, but it's being brought through the spirit of enticement. That's why it's called the hour of temptation, enticing to sin. All right, so the Lord has already set everything up, and those who fail this test that's coming, you know what's coming. All right, we keep telling you that this C-hip is bigger, is deeper than just it's just a chip. Nah, it goes deeper than that. All right, it goes way deeper than that. That's why the Lord set it up this way. This is a spiritual trial for real, for real. All right, and like I said earlier, I have some something I wanted to read. All right, going back to where in the scriptures the word AI is, right? Because we just read a whole bunch of information about artificial intelligence, right? Abbreviated AI. Okay, so with all these things that we just realized, everything is all going through demons and spirits on the left-hand side, right? Well, in the scriptures, do we have anywhere at all, you know, where the word AI is mentioned? And yes, the book of Joshua chapter 7 and verse 2. Okay, it says, and Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, or how it's pronounced Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel, and Bethel is Bayath Allah, which is house of God. All right, and spake unto them, saying, go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. Okay, so now we're going to go into the word Ai, or as is spelled AI. Okay, and the word there is Ai, and it says here, heap of ruins. Okay, heap of ruins. Now we're going to go a little bit further. All right, the root goes into, it says ruin, heap of ruins. Okay, it says to what? To ruin as if overturned. Heap. Okay, we're going to go a little bit more, right? And I believe the word here is, let's see, awa. Yeah, awa, right? Awa, which says here, to bend, twist, distort. Okay, so not only, you know, if you go into it, you know, the word AI, right, it means heap of ruins, but how does that heap of ruins happen? Through deception, as we said, right? So if you go into the root word of that word, Ai, and you go, I think, 2 or 3 steps deeper, right, you come to the word, here it says ava, right, but I believe it's awa. Awa'ah, right? Which says here to bend, twist, distort, right? It says what? To be bent, be bowed down, right? Which means to be corrupted, right? Be twisted, be perverted. Ah, there you go. Be perverted. Okay, to twist, to distort. So isn't AI literally being used to distort reality? That we're living it. We're literally seeing how these devils are using left-hand side energy, enchantments, all kinds of shit. All right, to get people to distort their reality. This is literally a spiritual war. All right, it says to do perversely. All right, they're using AI to bring about this perverse behavior. Look at all this promiscuity that's going on through OnlyFans and all these different things. It's all artificial intelligence. Your cell phones, your smartphones, your laptops, your computers, your video games, your whatever, your cars, your TVs. All these things are artificial intelligence, artificially crafted intelligence to bring in what? More of a demoralized society, to open up people's spirits to accept the so-called NWO, which ultimately is by you throwing away your belief in the Heavenly Father and His Son, all right, and then turning to Esau and say, yo, here, you my God now, all right, and by doing so, you're going to take that sihib. Okay, it says what? To commit iniquity, to do wrong, to pervert. Okay, so AI literally, when you go into it, it means to commit iniquity. It causes you to what? To twist you. It twists you. All right, it bends you into what? Into to commit iniquity, to do wrong, to pervert, all right? Wickedly, iniquity, perverse, to do amiss, to bow down, ooh, right? To bow down. It says what? To be crooked, right? Commit iniquity, pervert, trouble, turn, do wickedly, do wrong, okay? And that's exactly what happened, all right, during the time of Joshua and AI. So let's read. Ai, or Ai, was a place in central Canaan. It is first mentioned in the Bible in Genesis 12, verse 8, as a place where Abraham camped during his journey toward the land the Most High promised him in Genesis 12 and 1. And the quote says, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you." And that land is pretty much way bigger than what you see now as the land of Israel. All right, I believe it goes from the river Nile all the way over to the river Euphrates. All right, and all that land in between. Okay, and that's why Esau, the people now, the imposters now, they're in that land trying to create this so-called Greater Israel project. That's that whole thing, that whole concept is to try to bend the prophecy in their favor, but it's futile, right? You're just not the people. All right, so it is what it is. All right, it says continuing. When Abram reached Ai, he built an altar and called upon the name of the Lord, all right, which will be Yahweh, all right. The name Ai means heap of ruins, all right, heap of ruins. When you go into it a little bit more, it says what? Ruins, which ultimately goes a little bit further more, which means what? To commit adultery, which really is spiritual adultery, right? To commit iniquity, right? To do wrong, to pervert, to distort, to be twisted. Right? So when you take that, you know what? The sihib, that's the ultimate form of perversion you could ever do. Okay? As an Israelite. Right? And that's why the end result will be ultimate destruction. Thermonuclear fire. Alright, it says, according to Joshua 7 and 2, Ai was a Canaanite city located approximately 2 miles east of Bethel, which is in Joshua 10 and 1. The ruins of the city now lie beneath the modern archaeological site of Etel on a slope leading from the Jordan Valley to Bethel. Ai is notable for being the scene of a humiliating Israelite defeat. That's the key. Okay? These devils don't use these names for nothing. That's the key. The Israelite defeat. That's their whole purpose. How do we defeat the Israelites? We put them in captivity. We've degeneralized their whole entire nation. We put crack in the community. We put guns in the communities. We've prostituted their daughters, and we've put media, and we've told them that their entertainers are their leaders, and we've misled them with their so-called leaders that we gave them, and they still woke up to who they are. How do we do this? What do we do? We destroyed their communities with homosexuality and all kinds of different shit. They still woke up. I'll be pissed too. I did all that. These niggas still woke up. Right? So now you can sense that spirit of aggression, not having enough time. These people are waking up, and the longer we wait, the more they wake up. The more we do to suppress them, the more they wake up. That is a problem. It says, it is a notable scene of a humiliating Israelite defeat as the small city of Ai routed the Israelites and inflicted 36 casualties. Whew. The loss at Ai was due to the sin of Achan. All right, and that is in the book of Joshua, the 7th chapter, as we were reading before, down to, let's see, verse, pretty much the whole chapter. Right? But we're not going to read all that. All right, it says, in direct defiance of the Most High's command to keep nothing for themselves from the wicked city of Jericho. See? So there's a when you have a command, it's very strict. You have to follow it. It's one. It doesn't curve and bend. It's a command. Is a command. It's one thing. Boom, do it. That's it. So when you bend, right, you turn back. You've perverted it. Okay. It says Achan had kept a robe, 200 shekels of silver, and a 50 shekel bar of gold, and hid it all in a hole he had dug within his tent. Achan kept his theft a secret until Israel was defeated at Ai. The Most High then so they embellish you. That's what Esau does, right? He embellishes you, gives you all these different, trinkets and ornaments and stuff. Perverts your mind, right? That's why they've found a clever way to create the algorithms to have a spirit of addiction, right? So every time you're so addicted to the phone and the internet and everything that comes with it, to the point where it's become people's lives, quite literally. We all have to use it some way, somehow, but some people are just like, they can't live without it, you see? And that's all done by design. Again, artificed, designed, fashioned, right? So it says, the Most High then revealed to Joshua the cause for this defeat, and Achan, his family, and everything he owned was destroyed at the Most High's command. Ooh, you see? And how was that destruction? How did that destruction happen? Let's see. It says, once the sin had been purged from the camp and Achan had been punished, the Most High gave Joshua victory over Ai. Now, I think that part I want to find and read real quick. So the story of Achan and what he did, right? The sin of Achan. Now remember this, as the scripture tells you in the book of Romans, all right? It tells you that everything that's written aforetime was written for our learning, okay? That we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope, right? So when we read these things, this is our history, right? This is pertaining to our people back in the day. So we're all back here again. These things keep resurfacing. So how do we go about it? That's where we go back to the scripture and say, well, Lord, how did those men go back then go about it? And who did it the right way and who did it the wrong way? And what were the results of both ways? Well, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I've read. This is the theme I'm seeing. This is the pattern I'm seeing. Well, I'm going to do exactly what those men who did it the right way did it. I'm going to do it exactly that way. And I'll live with the results after that, because whatever results they got, I was pleased with. So I'm going to do the same thing that they were doing, so I can get also the same rewards that they got. All right. So it says here, the sin of Achan. It says, so Joshua rose up early. This is Joshua 7:16. So Joshua rose up early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes. And the tribe of Judah was taken. And he brought the family of Judah, and he took the family of the Zarhites, or Zarhites, Salakia, of the Zarhites, and he brought the family of the Zarhites man by man, and Zabdi was taken. And he brought his household man by man, and Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, and of the tribe of Judah, was taken. right? And of course it will be Judah, right? These YNs. Achan was a sound like a YN. All right. It says, and Joshua said unto Achan, my son, give, I pray thee, glory to the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, and make confession unto him, and tell me now what thou hast done. Hide it not from me. And Achan answered Joshua and said, indeed, I have sinned against the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, and thus have I done. When I saw among the spoils of goodly Babylonish garment, and 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, then I coveted them, and took them, and behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it. So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran unto the tent, and behold, it was hid in his tent, and the silver under it. And they took them out of the midst of the tent, and brought them unto Joshua, and unto all the children of Israel, and laid them out before the Lord Yahweh. And Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan the son of Zerah, and the silver, and the garment, and the wedge of gold, and his sons, and his daughters, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that he had, and he brought them unto the valley of Achor. All right, so that right there just shows that this dude was a grown man. He got all this stuff. He got goat, sheep, tent. Damn, you a grown man. You have all this. And you want to, Jake, bro. Man, that's crazy. He got daughters. He got sons, oxen, asses, sheep, tent. Bro, you had everything, bro. It says, and Joshua said, why hast thou troubled us? The Lord Yahweh shall trouble thee this day. And all Israel stoned him with stones, and burned them with fire, after they had stoned them with stones. Interesting. And they raised over him a great heap of stones, heap of ruins, stones, unto this day. So the Lord Yahweh turned from the fierceness of his anger. Wherefore the name of the place was called, or the name of that place was called, the Valley of Achor unto this day. All right. The Valley of Achor unto this day. Now let me see something real quick here. Disturbance, Achor, disturbance. All right. So we got that story. All right. So now you see the significance. Now, who during that time? It was the time of Joshua, and Joshua means Yahushai. Okay, but in this case, it's going to be the Yahushai Hamashiach. Okay, the Son of the Most High Himself. All right, and He's going to be the one to come down, and He's going to give that commandment or that command. All right, to bring that fire down upon this place, as is written in Revelation, the 14th chapter. All right, in the presence of the Lamb, and in the presence of the holy angels. Okay, in the presence of the Lamb and in the presence of the holy angels. That's where you're gonna be cooked. All right, and that goes for you people who are talking about the rapture too. You most likely gonna be cooked too. Right. But anyway, continue. It says, after drawing the men of Ai out of the city and ambushing them, Israelite warriors captured the king and brought him to Joshua, who impaled him and left his body on public display as a testament to Israel's great triumph over the enemies of the Lord. Now, this happened after the sin had been purged, right? Achan and his family and everything were punished by way of being stoned and then ultimately being burned, all right, with fire. Okay, so that's a brutal way for brutal judgment, a brutal way to go out. So is that something we can expect here in these last days? Yeah, you're damn right. Right? A lot of people are going to be going out that way too. All right. It says, the body of the king of Ai was left hanging until evening, at which time it was thrown in the gate of Ai and piled over with rocks. After first, interesting, right? The king of Ai. It says, after first tasting terrible defeat at Ai due to hidden sin under skin, right? Israel learned about the power of purging sin from their midst so that the Lord could fight for them. Okay, so Esau knows that. These devils know that. They know that. That's why they're doing everything in their power to make sure that yeah, sin in your mind, sin in your head when you do sin. It's like it. But they're doing everything in their power to make sure that your mind is aligned with this so-called beast system, right? In order for your mind to be aligned with this system, you have to be completely demoralized, right? Your morals, your integrity, you got to sell out, all right? You got to go all the way, all right, to be comfortable enough to say, oh, I'm gonna have these devils put a C-hip in my body. Like, bro, dang. It says, the region around Ai became part of the land given to the tribe of Benjamin in the distribution of the promised land. Ai was the second Canaanite city taken by Israel in its conquest of the promised land, the first being the great victory at the Battle of Jericho. Okay, so that's a little bit on the actual place or land where we conquered, which is known as Ai. And that name Ai is spelled Ai, which is pronounced as we have today Ai, which means heap of ruins. Okay, now when you go into it a little bit more, like I said a couple of times already, all right, it means what? Ruins, which leads to perversion, all right, inversion, all right, wickedness, and so on and so forth, ultimately leading to taking a C-hip, all right, and they're using artificial intelligence, all right, to, like they said, with artificial intelligence, we're summoning up the demon. Isn't that what Elon Musk said? So they've told you straight up what they're doing through algorithms, Al-Gol, right? The Arabic god known as the demon, all right? Al-Gol, the algorithmic language. That's where you get that from, all right? Which goes into what? Data and so on and so forth, all right? So yeah, man, that's what we got going on. But I want to close it out with this real quick, and then we're gonna be out of here. All right, because these are the times that we're in. This now so more now so than ever before. This precept right here, all right, these few couple of verses, all right, mean everything. All right, it's the book of Ephesians chapter 6, and at verse 10 it says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." All right, so the whole smart energy and all this distorted reality through AI, that's all part of the devil's strategies. All right, and they're using that through demonic spiritual intelligence. Okay, it says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Intelligence. Okay, it says, "Wherefore take unto the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand." All right, so we got to be standing, and not just standing, but standing firm. Okay, not shaking, not cowering, but standing firmly and boldly in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Why? Because he told us that through Joshua, that what? That he's with us, whithersoever we may go, man. All right. It says what? Be strong, all right, and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither thou be dismayed, right? For I, the Most High Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua, is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. All right, so that's what we have to have in our minds every time we go out there. All right, it says, "Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked." All right, and we know they're getting ready. As I remember the Zaquan Atazwam did a lesson, and I believe the Elder Apostle Tahar as well, and many other brothers have done a video or a lesson, all right, going into the CK memorial or funeral, that whatever that they were doing, all right, and they were putting a lot of codes out there, They were putting a whole lot of codes out there, letting Jake know that get ready. Right? Revelation 12:12 is about to kick in full effect, full motion. All right, they're getting ready. They're physically getting ready, spiritually getting ready. So we got to do the same thing. All right, we've seen all the signs, man. They're not doing all these meetings and changing and bringing in laws and, send the military out into different cities in the name of stopping crime and, meeting, like I said, having meetings that's regarding future stuff. It's like, are y'all just forgetting that we're in trouble now? Like, y'all not even addressing the fact that people are homeless and hungry and have no jobs. You're not addressing that. You just worried about data centers and shit, AI and shit. It's like, what about the people right now and what they're going through? See? So everything is out there, man. They're all preparing. Esau is setting everything up for the MOTB, man. All right. And this is their last stop. All right. This is their last stop. All right. So anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you were edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash, the Wadi Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Shalom.
So when this thing that I'm talking about happens, it's going to be exactly the thing that you're thinking about those super intelligent AIs. So the one thing I can tell you is they're not going to be like us. So alien means, different. These things that we're building are not going to be people. They might be really smart, they might be really good at all sorts of different things, but they're not going to be like us. They're going to be aliens. And they're going to be, I'm sorry to say, way smarter than every single person in this room in ways that we can't even comprehend. So this, of course, triggers a lot of alarm. One of the guys who talks about this is Elon, who says things like this, like, when you do this, beware. Because you think, just like the guy in the stories, that when you do this, you're going to put that little guy in a pentagram, and you're going to have your holy water out, and you're going to wave it at the thing, and by God, it's going to do exactly what you say and not one thing more, but it never works out that way. So this is an attitude that some are having, this emerging alarmism about the way this is going to go. But these words, demons, doesn't capture the essence of what's happening here. I don't know if any of you are turn-of-the-century weird fiction fans, but there's this guy named H.P. Lovecraft, who's a very famous American weird fiction author. And he espoused a view which is called cosmicism. And the essence of cosmicism is cosmic indifference. So what he was saying is basically, yes, there are these massively intelligent entities out there, but they're not good, they're not evil. They just don't give a shit about you even in the slightest. The same way that you don't care about an ant is the same way they're not going to care about you. And these things that we're summoning into the world now are not demons, they're not evil, but they're more like the Lovecraftian great old ones. There are entities that are not necessarily going to be aligned with what we want. So this transition is really, really massively important for our entire species to navigate. And going back to that thing that Sam Harris was saying, nobody is paying attention. This thing is happening in the background while people bicker about politics and what's going to be in the healthcare plan in the US. And underneath it all is this rising tsunami that, if we're not careful, is going to wipe us all out.